Hey mamas, it's your girl Tawana, and welcome back to another episode of Tawana Talks. Get ready for some laughs, some real talk, and a whole lot of mommy look moments. You know what I'm talking about. Those times when your sweet little one interrupts your one moment of peace like they've discovered something, I don't know, fire. We're diving into that today. So grab your coffee while it's still hot and let's get into it. Hey y'all, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you are having a phenomenal week. And if you're not, then I hope that your week is going to begin to get better because you're tuned in here. And I'm just ready to talk about today's topic, this mom life. It ain't easy. And welcome to our neighborhood called motherhood. So I'm just going to dive right in. So have you ever noticed how kids just have the absolute perfect timing, right? Like the moment you sit down to relax and maybe you're just maybe about to sip on your hot coffee that you just took off the Keurig, and that's when you hear, "Mom, look." And what are they showing you? The same trick they've done 50, 11 times, but with the enthusiasm of an Olympic gold medalist. It's like, honey, I love you. I really do. But can you not see that I'm doing something? But of course, that's not how it works at all, right? My daughter always likes to ask me to do something. And then she says, "Mom, look." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Like, do you want me to look at what you asked me to do? Or do you want me to look at you?" But here's my tea. And don't judge me. So remember, our tea is our transparent time. And so I'm going to spill my tea. When I hear "Mom, look," my blood boils because I hate to be bossed around. And when I hear "Mom, look," immediately my cortisol shoots up. I get tense and I feel demanded of. Like it feels very demanding and very bossy. And so automatically I'm on defense and like, uh. Um, so like think about those moments of frustration when you're just trying to have a second to yourself or you're busy with the thing and it's easy to snap or get annoyed. I used to wonder like, do you even consider what I'm doing before you demand my attention? I even tell her, before you say, "Mom, look," before you even ask me to do anything, first look at me to see if I'm doing something. Here's the kicker. I remember just being younger, and if my mom's in a conversation, you don't say, "Mom, look," like, because she's talking. So you already know she can't look because she's busy. You don't interrupt her while she's busy unless it's an absolute emergency. And by emergency means that I'm dying or somebody is trying to kidnap me. Um, and so that talking thing is a great indication or a indicator that we don't interrupt, right? I think somewhere along the lines, this generation has not been taught that or missed it. I don't know. It happened somewhere around the pandemic, right? Like if I'm physically talking to someone and someone is physically in front of me, then chances of her interrupting are probably still 100%. It's a neurodivergent thing. Like sometimes she's in her moment where it's absolutely extremely important, and it could just be her telling me that a character that she sees on TV is also in another show, and that is important right now. She has to tell me right now, and I could be in the middle of a conversation with someone. And so I thought that that because if you're sitting in front of someone and there's someone's physically there, then that would be a great indicator that uh, don't interrupt. I can't look like I am in the middle of a conversation. And then it was like, okay, if I'm watching TV, it's like, "Mom, look." And I got to divert my attention from the TV. In her mind, I'm guess she's thinking, well, it's a show, so you could pause it or whatever. Like I don't subscribe to live TV because of the fact that you can pause it and you can rewatch it later or rewind. Um, so during the pandemic, when the way to communicate was via Zoom or something virtual, and she would interrupt or try to do a thing, I would find myself oftentimes explaining to her, "This is not TV. I can't pause this conversation. This is in real time." And so that was a difficult concept for her to understand because she was 4 then. And so she was just like, I know the TV screen to be like something you watch. even though she was participating in virtual learning, it that didn't click. And so that's a whole other topic that we can talk about on how the expectations of children were unrealistic when it came to virtual learning, in reference to their development. But anywho, I could go on and on about that. Um, so one particular time, I was on a Zoom interview. I was interviewing a potential teacher to come and teach at the school for me. And in the middle of the interview, like I'm face to face with this person. And I'm not even going to say one particular time. There's two particular times that I'm going to mention. But this particular time, in the middle of the interview, as I'm talking to the person, a little hand comes on the. Well, let me give you some context. I was at my office at the school. So at this time, I could, principals and things like that could be in their workplace, but no one else could be there. And so I oftentimes, so I can get away, would just go to my office and work. And then obviously I would bring her with me. And sometimes she would do her virtual class in my office. So this particular time, I'm interviewing the potential candidate, and a little hand comes in the screen. Now, it'll be one thing, and we've seen videos where little hands come in the screen, little people run across the back, and all of those things, which is why they got the blurred background and everything. But you couldn't blur this out. A little hand comes in the screen and commences to put lipstick on my face mid interview. And I just looked over like, are you serious? This cannot be happening right now. And the candidate was just looking at me, and all she could do was laugh. I mean, like, what could you do in that moment? And then the second time, the desk that I had in my office was one that was like had a hutch type thing behind you, and so you had the shelves and the cabinets behind you and all of that. And I'm interviewing another potential candidate to come and teach. And as I'm talking, a little body is climbing up the shelves behind me in the middle of this interview. And this time it was a gentleman. And I'm just looking at him and I'm thinking that if I make strong eye contact, like, look at me, like this time I'm saying, hey, yo, man, look, he will not see my surroundings. Well, that's not how it works. And so he just looked at me and said, I have a newfound respect for you as a principal and a mom because this is what I'm dealing with. Needless to say, both of those teachers did get hired and did accept the position. So, what does that say about me or them? I don't know. I guess we all have those look moments. So, I digressed a little, but I think about that when it comes to that mom look. Like you are oblivious to what else is going on because right now you are like really demanding my attention. So in those moments where she's like, look, and I'm like, are you serious? Like, please take a moment and look at me. Oh, the point I wanted to make with that was like conversations with real time, real people should be, right? An indicator that that's not a moment to interrupt. But now, because in the advancement of technology, we have to teach other types of communication whereby, interruptions should be minimal or non existent unless there's an emergency. So I could be mid sentence in a text and she's like, Mom, look. And now you've cut off my conversation that I was mid texting and mid thought to look at you. And so I then also say, hey, when I'm talking or you see me in my phone texting, just give it a moment because I'm actually having a conversation. And so it's still like in those moments, it's still a thing, right? So then I had a little bit of a revelation. It was in a moment where she asked me to do something and then she asked me to look. And I said to her, um, that same thing. I was like, do you ever look at me to see what I'm doing when you're asking me to look? And in that same moment, in that same thought, it hit me. Wait a minute. Isn't that just like us with God? Like we're out here doing all of the things, working, stressing, multitasking, playing, and we're like, God, look, God, look at me. And don't you see me? Don't you see what I'm doing? Are you going to help? Look at me. Look here, look there. And meanwhile, God's got the whole universe to run, right? He's doing all of the things and doing them well. But just like we do with our kids, he never gets tired of us asking for his attention. And so I thought that's a word right there, right? Like in that moment, I'm thinking, like, that'll preach. And how often do we actually stop to see what God's already doing in the midst of our lives while we're shouting at Him, God, look, God, look? Like his blood doesn't boil. He doesn't get frustrated with us and say, I don't like being bossed around. I don't like being demanded of. But in that same instance, when I say or think about my daughter, like, how often do you look to see what I'm doing? Like when you're saying, Mom, look, I could be doing something that's already taking care of you or doing a thing, right? And so going back to that revelation, how often do we stop to look and see what God is doing? See the things we want him to see, all the things that we're doing, all the things that we need. But sometimes we need to step back and see, what is God doing? Like, let me look at what he's done and what he's doing. And he's like all caught up. And sometimes we're all caught up in what we want to show him and what we want him to see, that we forget he's already there, fully aware and working things out, just like we do for our own kids. So it got me like digging deeper, and I wanted to bring some biblical principle and context to it. And so in Galatians 6:9, it says, and I'm going to read it so that I don't have it memorized, but it says, and let us not grow weary of doing good, or in due season we will reap if we do not give up. Now, when I read that, that's like a perfect verse for motherhood. If we don't feel like that's the best verse, like that's the theme song, like let us not get weary in doing good. Um, I don't know what is a theme song for motherhood. And I'm sure there's plenty other verses out there, but that's a good one. And it's like God knew we need this reminder on those days when we're trying to keep it all together and our kids um, are doing a thing. And just on those days when we're just trying to fit all the pieces together, God's there. And our kids are a blessing to us, right? Even when they feel like it's inconvenient, because they don't see our to-do list. They don't see our stress. They just see us. And it's us that they want to see them, right? And they want us to look at all of the things and see all of the things. And in their mind, it's so funny because it's like we say, don't do this or don't do that. Or we catch them in the act and like, how did she know? And we say, I got eyes in the back of my head. Well, some kids take that literally. Like if you have a small child or a child that is a concrete thinker, although they don't see that physically, they kind of take that literally. Like I have a neurodivergent child who some things I say, she takes it literal, and I have to be like, oh no, I was being sarcastic or I was saying a thing. But we tell our children like we have eyes in the back of their head, so they're like, Mom, look, like, okay, so you're doing a thing with the eyes in the front of your head, you can look with the eyes in the back of your head. But on a real note, sometimes the coffee's gonna get cold. Sometimes we're gonna miss a show. But that's why God blessed us with microwaves, and that's why I don't subscribe to live TV. Now, did I just say microwaves? I don't know where that came from, but microwaves. And so they're there to heat up the coffee. And non TV that's not live, I should say non live TV, I don't know what that is there so that we can rewind the show. Now, I want to just give a disclaimer. There, of course, are some times where that mom look is not something you can do, like in the car. Those are times where we do have to teach our children, like those mom looks can't happen. We can't always look at everything. And so this episode is not inviting you to drop it all and be at the beck and call of your child. Because in the car, obviously, when you're driving that mom look, you're like, no, you can't be serious. I am driving a vehicle that has our precious lives at stake. So I am not going to be looking. So when I'm in the car and my daughter's like, Mom, look, I'm like, are you serious? And she's like, oh yeah. So it just kind of gives her a little triggered reminder. But thinking about the mom look moments, it kind of hit me in another way. I thought about how I want her to see me, and it's just like God. We tell him to look at us, but we don't look at I'm not gonna say we don't. How often do we sit back and look at what he's doing? But then it started to hit me another way as I started thinking and transitioning through this thing. I've shared on several episodes that I have two adult children. In fact, my son was, I think, in one of the early episodes of season one as one of my guests. And so I do have a little bit of a vantage point of seeing this season that I'm in right now and seeing where that season is going to go. And when I say that, I mean I have a little one and I understand that the little one gets big. And I know that as a mom, we all understand that, but I've experienced it. And so sometimes, so with some moms, you only have your little one, you've not experienced the adult. But I have two adults and then I also have a little one. So I've experienced that transition from being your baby to being your metamorphed young adult to now being your full blown adult. And so it hit me in those mom look moments. She wasn't or is not trying to be demanding. She is actually trying to connect with me in her own way. Like she wanted to be seen, to be noticed, to feel like a part of my life as she invites me into hers. And I feel like I'm getting a little emotional here. And it isn't that that she is like being needy or controlling or clingy. She wants to invite me into her world and she wants to be seen. And isn't that what we all want deep down? To be seen and appreciated. And that moment was a reminder for me to slow down, to really see her and to appreciate the little things, even when they come in the form of the mom, look moments. Those are the little things. Those are the moments that are going to be the moments that you're not going to be able to see later. So now I'm learning to take those moments not as interruptions, but as actual invitations and invitations to show love, to be present, and to remember that in all of the chaos, these are moments that matter most. And these moments will soon no longer be moments, but memories. I think about my older children and how I don't have those mom look moments because they're big and they're grown. So before I get all sobby and teary eyed, let's take a little break. And before I'm on here crying like a baby. um, and we're just really getting started, like, right? So let's take just a quick break. So here's a little commercial for you. Moms, have you ever felt overwhelmed? That's what we're talking about here, right? You're not alone. I've created yet another devotional titled Mindful Moments, a 7-day hashtag Mom Life devotional. And this week I'm giving away day one for free. Just head over to my website. The link is in the comments of this podcast, and you will get that day one. But it gets better. If you subscribe to the site, you will get the full 7-day download also for the free 99. I said the free 99. So go over to my website. The link is in the bio, and you can download the 7-day devotional by subscribing. But if you don't want to subscribe, you can at least get day one. And again, that's totally free. I'm a mom too. And we could all use some I see you moments. So, yes, mama, look, I see you. Let's navigate this journey together with faith, humor, and a whole lot of. While you're over there, go ahead and check out my devotional Empower Her to Thrive, which is filled with impactful stories of me and my daughter's life and built into revelations and transformative moments and a whole lot of tea. So, now we're back. Okay. Y'all, let's get into how this mommy look saga has changed the game for me, and I'm hoping that it'll do the same for you. First of all, I had to realize that my frustration was less about my daughter's demanding or what I felt like to be demanding behavior and more about my own priorities. I got really, really caught up and can oftentimes get really caught up in the things, all of the things that I had to do, and I wasn't fully present for her. And sometimes you think, when your children are proximate, they understand all of the things, but they don't know what's going on in your brain. They don't know your to-do list. And again, like I mentioned, they don't know your stresses. All they see is the thing you're doing. So if you're working and you're working from your phone, in their mind, what they're going to remember, you're always on your phone. If you're working from your computer, you're always on your computer. If you're, whatever you're doing, that's the thing they're going to remember. And so just because they're proximate doesn't mean they know everything that's happening with you. And so my frustration came much more from me just not being fully present with her. And she felt it, right? She needed my attention. She needs my love. She needs my validation. And when I wasn't giving it to her freely, she found a way to demand it. Mom, look. And she does it a lot, which tells me that I'm doing something a lot. I'm not being fully present. And again, I want to continue to have that relationship with her where later she is saying, Mom, look, right now I'm here, so she's close. But when she doesn't have to be close, I want her to still reach out and feel close. And so she found a way to demand the attention, and she shouldn't have to. And guess what? Neither should you, and neither should I have to demand attention from someone else, and neither should your daughter. One thing to remember, that if you don't feel love where you are, then you will go and look for it somewhere else. And I don't want that for her. So if I'm not providing a space and an environment where she feels like she's getting the basic need, which is love, then I need to reshift and redo something different, which is the whole goal of me thinking through this. So now I'm really learning to like pause, to breathe, and to ask myself what's really important in this moment, hence the mindful moments. Is it the task I'm doing, or is it the little girl in front of me who just wants to be seen? Now, again, like I said, there's some things that are very important that you can't stop, that you don't take away from in the mom look moments, and you teach your little one that in this moment I can't look. But some of those moments and those tasks that you're doing, you can bring them into it. I think about cooking. When your daughters are of age where they can start to participate, it makes the time a lot less stressful when they're participating in that process. So now it doesn't seem like you're being pulled, you're trying to cook, you're trying to do all the things, because now you're doing it together. And so those mom look moments become mom look, and it's creating a memory because you're looking at how they're growing and how they're progressing in the things that you're doing together. So yes, it's hard, and yes, it's frustrating sometimes, but it's worth it. Believe me, I'm in this season, but I see and have seen and have been in the season when they're all grown up. I have those grown children, and they move out, and they don't call every day. And with them, they no longer say, Mom, look. Instead, I'm saying, Son, daughter, can I see? Emotional moment. Um, so in that reflection, I, I like to build on just biblical principles to help build that strong foundation and firm foundation. And just like we crave God's attention and his presence in our lives, our young children crave the same from us. And when we build that continuity or that habit or that consistency, that will be something that they will crave later in life. And it won't be as demanding and it won't be as frequent, but at least it will be there. The whole goal is to make sure that we are building a relationship with our children, and one that it moves from having to be in a relationship with you to wanting to be in a relationship with you. And so if we look at the Bible in Psalms 139 verses 1 through 4, it reminds us that God knows us intimately. He knows our every thought and our every word and our every need. And that's the kind of attention our kids want from us. And when we give it, even when it's inconvenient, we're not just building them up, but we're also building ourselves too. So, what's my takeaway from all of this? Just to kind of narrow it in, I'm definitely learning to shift my mindset from seeing these moments as interruptions and seeing them more as opportunities to empower my daughter and myself to thrive, to grow, and to connect on a much deeper level. And that, mamas, is really how we're going to keep winning in this motherhood game. Remember, it doesn't come with a manual, it doesn't come with a certificate. When we go to school for education or whatever you went to school for in your profession, you get these accolades, you get these certificates, you get these certifications to do the thing that you can do. But when we have children, you don't get certified to be a mom. You don't get accolades to be a mom. You get a certificate, but it's a birth certificate that just tells you all the details. And I'm not even saying all, it tells you some of the details about the life that you are going to bring home and that you are now responsible for, but you have had no training. And even though I have two grown-ups, um, and now I have this little one, that doesn't make me uh, certifiable and qualified to be, I'm not gonna say qualified. It doesn't make me certifiable for this one. I still have to learn this one, and I'm still learning the older ones. And so it's not something that you just achieve. It's something that you always become. And the things that I've learned from raising my older ones, and the mistakes that I've made are things that I'm hoping to correct in this one, but just not going to get perfect. Not going to be perfect. I mean, and I may not always get it right, but the goal is to try. And I heard something today that said, um, it's not in the achievement, it's in the attainment. And so, as long as you have that goal that you're striving for, then you continuously be intentional with your practices and doing it. But understanding that some things are not going to be fully achieved because it's a constant becoming. We are humans, we are evolving. And just like we are moms that are evolving and are growing and learning, our children are too. And so, as they grow up, guess what? So are we. So, take a deep breath and look, pun intended. I hope that you're leaving here with a little more patience and a little more grace and a whole lot of love. And remember, those mommy look moments are where the magic actually happens. So I encourage you not to miss them. And if you want just a little bit more of these mindful moments, be sure to follow me on my social. I post mindful moments just about every day, very engaging with that. And these are just my reflective moments on how I was able to see in that moment for growth and personal development for myself, because the first person I lead is me. And so that I can step into this world great for my daughter and all those that are around me, and help to facilitate the greatness in those as well. So it's all about really finding joy in the chaos. And I know that the mindful moments and the things that I put out there will bless you because they're blessing me. And so, whew, this was an emotional one, y'all. But until next time, I encourage you to keep driving, keep laughing, and keep loving. And I will see you next time on Tawana Talks, where mom life is real, real fun, and always full of surprises. Peace out.